On behalf of Orientation and New Student Programs, I want to welcome you to our Wednesday webinar series. My name is Tab Enoch. I use she, her pronouns, and I am one of the Associate Deans of Students here at the University of Virginia, and delighted to be one of the folks to say hello. I hope I've met some of you at orientation that have already happened. Hope to meet some of you at orientations that are to come, but either way, thank you for showing up today. Just a couple quick things before we dive in. I just want you to know that our webinars are designed to help prepare you for your arrival at UVA. And so every week, as you probably have figured out, until moving day, you can tune in to learn about resources from across grounds. And so a couple of general reminders for some of you. Be sure that you are checking a UVA email regularly, because as new students, we are going to communicate to you through your UVA email address. And so there's going to be important things that we're sending to you. Keep an eye on that inbox for important messaging. And it's essential that you take ownership over your own college experience. And so if we have family members on here, we're glad that you joined us. But in terms of the emails and follow up with students, we will send that directly to the UVA email address that's assigned to the student. That said, our office is happy to hear from students. If you have questions, email us at orientation@virginia.edu with any questions that you have to help you. We can guide you towards the answers that you need. I also want you to know if you miss anything in this webinar or any of the other Wednesday webs, we are consistently posting those on our website. And so be sure to go back to our website if you miss anything from this scintillating, wonderful session that we're about to have, or any of the others that we've had in previous Wednesdays. They are posted. It sounds like our crew right here is going to take some answers, do some Q&A at the end. And so please know that you'll have an opportunity to do that. And without further ado, I'm doing a virtual drum roll to introduce my friend, my colleague, my superstar, the woman in charge of fraternity and sorority life, Dr. Dorothea Mack. I'm gonna turn it over to you, D Mac.
Thank you so much, but I could not do this without my students. So my name is Dorothea Mack, and I am the Assistant Dean and Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life, and I've been here about 2 years. And before coming here, I was at East Carolina University for 9 years, working in fraternity and sorority life. In our department, we have 2 program coordinators, 1 student affairs fellow, and 5 to 8 student workers. And we are currently in the process of interviewing and getting more people on our staff. And so we have our beautiful students with us. And so I want them to introduce themselves so you can get to know them as well, because they're going to be talking to you also during this presentation.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Kratz. I'm a rising 4th year in the college studying political philosophy, policy, and law, and I am the president of the Interfraternity Council here.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Renee Bryan. I'm also a rising 4th year, or I guess a current 4th year now in the Baton School. I'm majoring in public policy and leadership with a minor in African American Studies, and I'm the current president of the MPHC.
Thank you. And so to talk to you a little bit about our department and what we do and our mission and what we focus on. We were founded in 2001. A lot of administrators and students and faculty came together and say, we need to find a centralized, focused area for Greek life. It is something that's very important. It's valued. It has a lot of history here at UVA. And so they wanted to make sure that they had a centralized place for that. So they developed the department. We have central principles that we focus on: scholarship, leadership, service, diversity, and honor. And when you look at the different chapters individually, many of them focus on these same values and as part of their mission. I think you've heard it probably a lot, student self-governance, since you've been talking with students and people here. It's very important. We really do allow the students to take leadership and ownership of their organizations, their chapters, to really step in and be able to lead the groups, their peers, in a way that they feel is best, and really get a hands-on opportunity for leadership. We work with the international headquarters, so the chapters follow their national policies, and we have alumni here in the surrounding areas that engage and help support all of the student organizations. There are 4 main programs that we educate our students on, and the students are required to participate in: diversity, equity, and inclusion, sexual respect, healthy relationships, hazing prevention, and alcohol and drugs education. Some benefits of joining. People always say, well, why should I join? What is the big thing about Greek life? And so for me, as I guess I've been the director and talking about it and engaging with students, they really like to focus on brotherhood and sisterhood. Many of the students come here. Sometimes they don't get an opportunity to come with people from their high schools. And so they want to get out and meet people. So it's a way to build relationships, be able to network. And a lot of students have lifelong friendships that they developed when they were in school, their first year. And so for them, it's getting out to get opportunities to give back, to be able to help others. They give back to the Charlottesville community as well as nationally. Nationally, they have different national organizations that they work with to make sure that they're following their values, which is giving back and serving the community. Also with that, they have youth leadership opportunities with their chapters, governing councils, and not just within their organizations. They also have leadership positions in their academic areas as well. And so people always want to know, well, what does the research say about joining these organizations? How can it benefit the students, and what does that look like? Affiliated alumni were more likely to report feeling supported by faculty and mentors, and were 3 times likely to have engaged in experiential learning. More than 50% of fraternity and sorority life alumni have accepted a job offer or found employment within 2 months of graduation, compared to just 36% of non-affiliated alumni. 24% of affiliated alumni strongly agreed that they had a job internship that allowed them to apply classroom learning, worked on a project that took more than a semester to complete, and were extremely active in extracurricular activities or organizations, as opposed to just 8% of non-affiliated alumni. So that shows you some of the benefit and the ways that joining Greek organization has helped our students. These are some pictures of our different organizations. It shows you our diverse population that we have. We have 4 different councils with 59 chapters. We have 28% of the undergraduate community here. We have about 4,800 students. And this past spring, we had about, the average GPA was a 3.6. Charity donations given, 400,000 items were given, and over 40,000 hours of community service. And some of our national groups work with St. Jude, the Women's Shelter, and other organizations as well. Something that's very important, maybe some of you have heard about, is the Adams Law requirement that our students and potential new members must get trained. So with the Adams Law that we have, we must do last year, we must complete an in-person training for potential new members, current members, and advisors. We wanted to make sure that everyone that was involved in the Greek experience understood what hazing was, how we defined it, some examples of it, and the policies here at the university to let them know that we have a no hazing policy. And so with the training, you'll get to understand what it is, the laws itself, how we apply that, and also understand that it is against the law to haze. And if you're found responsible for that, you could have to deal with criminal situations if that comes up. So just making sure that any organization, not just fraternity and sorority life, organizations that have a new member process has to get the training and make sure that they understand what that is. And so that's for organizations that there's a period of time between initiation in the membership process, and also if you're going to be invited into a membership for an organization. This is a map of fraternities and sororities with IFC. Pretty much most of those organizations have houses. Joe, correct me if I make a mistake. And then for ISC, most of those, which are 15, they have houses as well. The MGC and MPAC organizations do not have houses on this map.
Yeah, thank you so much, DMAC. So again, my name is Joe. I'm president of the Interfraternity Council here. My term started, almost half a year ago at this point. It's been a really great opportunity for me, but the IFC itself here at the University of Virginia was established in 1934, and we govern currently 30 active chapters on grounds. We also serve as a target school for a number of other national fraternities who are looking to come to grounds. The vast majority of our organizations are going to be national organizations, which are going to be affiliated with the NIC, which is the North American Interfraternity Conference. We do have one local chapter, but they are governed sort of in the spirit of student self-governance by myself as the head of the governing board, which has 9 executive committee members and then 7 at-large members who manage a number of programs that the IFC runs. Everything from sort of maintaining risk management policies to making donations to the community to running financial scholarships that the IFC runs to make Greek life here in the IFC especially affordable. A lot of my executive board members are also in charge of working with the ISC or other on-grounds groups, be it from the UJC to Honor to even just DNAC's office. So recruitment is going to be an important part of what the IFC, could I get the next slide, DNAC? Thank you so much. So the other sort of major part of why the IFC governing board exists is to operate our recruitment process. So one thing that makes IFC recruitment and ISC recruitment here at the University of Virginia unique is that it's deferred. So with the IFC, you can't join a Greek IFC chapter until the 2nd semester of your time here at UVA, which I think leads to a much healthier Greek culture here. I think it makes especially IFC members much better rounded. But that is going to be partially operated by us. We set schedules, rules, and sort of provide training and an infrastructure that then all of the individual chapters sort of use this as an opportunity to showcase to prospective members what their chapters look like. And so then it's a mutual choosing process between the chapters seeking out, young men that they want to be in their chapters, and then the students sort of finding organizations that they feel comfortable with. Registration will open by November of that first semester, but then it won't occur until the beginning of spring semester. You will be able to register basically anytime from November until basically recruitment starts. And there will be tons and tons of opportunities for students to sort of engage with those chapters formally in a process that allows people to sort of explore what all of that looks like in Greek life here. There is a $50 rush fee that will, be charged to you when you register. We also have very, very generous rush fee waivers. I think something like 30% of rushies last recruitment semester received a fee waiver. So we don't want sort of finances to be any sort of burden for students looking to join an IFC organization. But that fund, the money that we accrue from rush registration does go to stuff like dues, scholarships, donations that we make in the community, or any number of programming opportunities that the IFC runs themselves.
So the Inter-Sorority Council was established in 1975. That was the first year that women were admitted at the university. They have 15 national Panhellenic organizations that they have, and each chapter has a representative on the council. They have centralized, highly structured recruitment process. Potential new members register to participate and attend events for all organizations. The process emphasizes a mutual selection process in which both potential members and chapters indicate their preferences. Registration will open soon as they're working to be able to do that. And so they're in the process of doing that. Registration typically is around $100, and you'll be able to get a t-shirt and some other things that they will give you as well for that. But more information to come, we'll have that listed on our website.
Everybody. So the National Panhellenic Council, or the NPHC, was founded at Howard University in 1930. The first Black sorority was founded here at UVA in 1973, which was Delta Sigma Theta, and the NPHC was founded here at UVA in 1990, which was when all of the current chapters decided to come together and have their own organization. Separately from the IFC and the ISC, we have a decentralized process, which means that each individual chapter has their own intake process. So there's no one way or one general process that you will go through. You'll have to communicate with those individual chapters and chapter members to figure out those details. The MPHC really just strives to create a community that focuses on scholarship and service and fellowship. And please follow us on Instagram at the MPHC at UVA to hear more about our events and things happening. And if you go to the next slide, Matt. So currently the MPHC is called the Divine Nine, and we have 6 of the 9 chapters active here at UVA. So we have Alpha Pi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Kappa Alpha Psi, Fraternity Incorporated Omega Psi Phi, Fraternity Incorporated Delta Sigma Theta, and Phi Beta Sigma. So those are all separate chapters, and those would be the individual places you go to hear more about their processes and organizations. And you can find that information again on the Instagram, or if you come to the source, which is the Black students version of their student activities fair at the beginning of the semester, all of the organizations will be there, and we will also be performing. So we would love to see you guys there.
We also have the Multicultural Greek Council, which was established in 1999. It oversees 8 cultural and identified-based fraternities and sororities. So that includes Southeast Asian, Latina sorority and fraternity. So they do have many cultural-based organizations to help students feel included, involved, and active, so they can feel as though this is a place for me. Some organizations are affiliated with their national and international umbrellas. The practice, again, is decentralized. So they, as individual organizations, they decide when they want to bring in new members. They may not do it all at the same time. And you can check out their Instagram pages for more information, and sometimes we have it on our websites as well. And so why did you join?
So when I think about my time in Greek organizations here at UVA, it for me feels largely as just a part of my experience here writ large, and what has been, in the end, I mean, so far I only have a year left of a really incredible experience for me. I think that especially because I finished high school in the middle of COVID and I came to grounds just like Renee did in the middle of COVID, which was just an odd experience. It was, it felt lonely in many times. And so then I think for me to join an organization was not something that I intended to do when I came to school. I remember when I told one of my first friends that I had joined a fraternity, she thought I was joking because it just wasn't something that it seemed like I would probably have done in high school. But I think that when I went through the recruitment process and I realized that there was, more than one sort of group of young men on grounds that I felt very similar to, I could, sort of joke with them, I could laugh with them, I could be myself in many ways. I think that sense of belonging is ultimately the final reason why I joined. I think that that's something that we're always seeking in all parts of our life. And so to be able to find a space at UVA where I felt like I belonged, and also where I felt like I was supported in so many ways. And that goes from the day-to-day that I drove one of my fraternity brothers to the airport yesterday because he needed a ride, or when I had a paper published in a journal here at UVA and I was speaking on an author's panel that like half of the audience was the guys in my fraternity because they were proud of me and I had asked them to show up for me. And so I think that at the end of the day boils down to a sense of belonging and a sense of community of care that I think has really sort of shaped my time here at UVA.
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of twofold. The first thing I really wanted was to find a group of like-minded individuals that were really working to be part of something that was greater than themselves. I think oftentimes as an individual that's a part of a marginalized community, so as a Black woman, I feel like I don't really have a community. I don't really feel at home at a school. So I wanted to find a space where I could come and have those people where they just got it. I didn't have to pretend to be someone I wasn't. I could just be who I was and have that support, and have these girls and these women and that were really looking to help me become a better version of myself and pushing me to be the best that I could be. And I was doing the same for them, and just know that they had my back and could support me. And so I really knew that was something I wanted coming into college. So that's when I first started looking into fraternity and sorority life. And then when I started kind of narrowing it down, I realized I just wanted to be a part of something that was greater than me and that stood for the same values as I did. And so for my organization specifically, we really focus on education and sisterhood and community service and really just advancing Black people as an organization. And I really think that's really important, especially in light of all the things that have been happening recently in this country. And so I'm just really glad to be a part of something that's way bigger than myself and all the opportunities that it's been able to give me. A kind of a short story, I'm currently in Chicago working at McDonald's headquarters, and I have met so many people that are Greek that are in either the D9 or in my sorority, and they're just like, hey, or they see my wristband, or they'll be like, oh, are you an AKA, or oh, are you Greek? And they're like, hey, reach out, let's set up coffee, let's set up networking time. I know who I can introduce you to. And so I think it's things like that where it's not just a college commitment, it's a lifetime commitment. It's people who, as soon as you see like, oh, they're a part of this organization, even if it's not the same chapter. It's like, I know that person has good values and understands the same things that I understand and works to have the same goals that I do. And is really just going to support me in everything that I want to achieve. And I really found that at UVA and outside of Greek life.
Thank you. Yeah. So at this time, we have some frequently asked questions that we're going to ask and the students will answer for you. And then after that, we will answer whatever questions you put in the chat or questions that you may say out loud. So the first question that we get a lot is, how much does it cost to be Greek?
Yeah, I can go first, unless Renee really wants to jump in.
Go for it.
So I talked briefly about what it costs to rush, but then additionally that there are fee waivers for any student, no questions asked when it comes to receiving fee waivers from the IFC. The actual cost of membership in each organization is going to depend on the chapter, and that's going to be largely dependent on what sort of policies are, what sort of their national dues are. And so that's something that lots of students will ask about during the recruitment process, and I would highly encourage anyone listening who's thinking about doing recruitment that if they're going through recruitment that they ask questions about that, because I know that it was a non-zero part of my decision to join a Greek organization, and so I would really just advocate that you ask those questions of the specific chapters that you're interested in, because they're going to have different answers, different sort of payment situations or structures as well.
I would say similar to Joe. For us, it depends on the individual chapters. There's going to be different fees. So unfortunately, I can't give you a specific number. But I will say that like everybody works to try to make sure that it's affordable and accessible to anybody, and we don't want it to be a barrier. So while there is a fee to be a part of it, there's a lot of resources at the university, either within individual chapters or within wider chapters like the IFC or the MPHC, to help get you funds for that.
Okay, thank you. When is rush / recruitment?
Yes, so for the IFC, it will always occur in those first couple weeks of the second semester. And I saw a couple questions about transfer students. It'll be the same for transfer students. The only formal recruitment process that the IFC puts on will be the first couple weeks of the second semester. There are 2 chapters that will run sort of informal recruitment processes for second years and some transfer students as sort of an additional opportunity, but 99% of recruitment for the IFC will occur, and the ISC will occur in sort of the beginning of the second semester of every year.
And unfortunately, the MPHC doesn't have like a set time. Again, it's based on individual chapters. So it really just depends.
So when the question is, when is membership intake? So it just depends on the chapter.
Yes. So I would say for rush recruitment, membership intake, and like the recruitment process, they're all kind of depends.
Okay. When do I need a recommendation letter to like join? Like, do I need one to join?
I could go first. I could go
As I say,
first.
it sounded like you were about to answer.
Right. I was like, I didn't know if she was talking right to me. Yes. So I would say for most organizations, you do need a letter of recommendation to join. And that is something you could start working on without knowing about when the process is starting, or before a process is starting, to make that application process easier for you. So that is something I would start working on if you're interested.
Yeah, and the IFC has no requirement for recommendation letters at all. I don't know of any chapter that has any recommendation letter requirement, or that they have ever asked for any of those in sort of the last decade or so in the IFC.
And then for ISC, for Pan-Atlantic doing registration, they do have opportunities for you to upload recommendation letters if you want to. Some organizations, they require, like if you want to do a recommendation letter or a legacy, you need to upload that at that time. So that's very important for ISC and for MPHC and some of the multicultural groups. For MPHC and MGC, do I need to know a member so that to be voted into the organization?
I can't speak for all of MGC, but I can speak for MPHC and a few of MGC. It's not a need to know, but we would love to see you come to some of our events beforehand. So like if you apply to an organization and nobody in the chapter has ever heard your name or seen your face, it might be hard for us to get to know you through your application. But if we've met you in person, if you've come to an event, similar to like the college application process, where like if they see you face to face, they recognize you. Think of it that way.
Okay. What does the recruitment process look like?
Yeah, so I can talk to the IFC because unlike the NPHC, we're a fairly centralized or at least sort of guided program on our side. So it'll be sort of that first 2 weeks of class. So it will not occur during the J term. It doesn't start until all students are back on grounds. The ISC does it slightly differently, but for the IFC, we wait until everyone comes totally back to grounds, either in dorms or sort of in off grounds, houses or apartments. And then it's a series of rounds. There are 3 rounds and then final hours. And each of the rounds sort of you go to a lot of houses during open house. That's the opportunity to sort of just meet everyone. And then you sort of move through smaller and smaller rounds as you decide which houses you don't want to return to. Houses sort of make decisions about who they want to ask back. And then there will be a final hours where you basically go to your top 3 houses and you tell them, I would like to be in this chapter. I would not like to be in this chapter. And then we'll have bid day, which is generally on sort of that second weekend of the semester where people can receive their bids and then sort of make the decision about whether or not they want to accept their bid.
Okay. And then for ISC, for Panhellenic, it's typically that way too, about 2 weeks. They do get an opportunity typically to move into the dorms before classes start, so they can start around that time. They have an orientation session, they have philanthropy round, preference round, so they get to go to all of the different houses to be able to meet all of the different members. And after each round, then people are begin to be cut or eliminated through that process. Then at the end, you're able to make your preferences. And so they ask you not to just select one organization, because the more organizations you select, which is up to 3, the more likely you'll be able to get a bid from an organization. And so at the end of that, you will have bid day, and then after that, you'll have bid day, new member activities after that. Okay, and so these are some of the questions we had. So now we'll go into the questions that you had for us. Okay, so the first question is, I've learned that many schools that deferred rush to second semester or second year often have an unofficial dirty rush in the semester or year prior. Can you advise as to whether this occurs at UVA?
Yeah, so I can take that one. So I mean, dirty rushing and unofficial rush occur at schools that both have sort of immediate recruitment and then also deferred recruitment as well. The IFC has rules about contact, but generally just if you get to start to know people in classes or other organizations, there will be sort of opportunities to just get to know people in chapters in the same way that you get to know sort of anyone on grounds. For some people who are looking to join Greek organizations, sometimes they feel a pressure to do that. But all chapters here will engage in formal rush where it's sort of not required that you know anyone. Initially, that's sort of the point of open house, and sort of what the round setup is designed to do is to allow people, whether or not they've met people in chapters before, to have an opportunity to meet people. But sort of dirty rushing will sort of occur at any school where there are just people who have classes together. And then that sort of goes into when you're talking about the second years. There was another question about houses rushing second years and transfers in the fall semester. There are currently only 1 or 2 chapters that do sort of put sort of serious effort into their own formal recruitment process in that first semester of the year, because that's only eligible for people who are second years or who have been here for at least a semester, just because you need to have been on grounds for a full semester before you can join an IFC fraternity. And so they do rush second years and transfers in the fall semester, but it's a very, very small minority of people who join IFC fraternities. The 99.9% of people who rush IFC fraternities will just do formal recruitment in the spring semester.
All right, and you answered the question about transfers. I think, and also they said to clarify what Joe said, that some houses do rush second years and transfers in the fall semester.
Yeah, I think that we should be. I think I got most of that, but if I didn't, please let me know if I need to clarify.
Okay, and someone asked about membership intake question mark. So I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, I saw that. I was just gonna say membership intake is kind of a different term for Russia recruitment. It's just kind of the terminology that the MPHC tends to use. So like membership intake experience, something like that. But it's very similar. It means the same thing.
Okay, does Greek Affairs put out example rush outfit guidelines for the various rounds and formal recruitment for the spring? So Joe, I'll let you answer for IFC and then I'll answer for PanAfrican.
So no, Greek Affairs doesn't put out example rush outfit guidelines. My understanding is, especially for the Inter-Sorority Council, that first round, they're provided a shirt and there's sort of rules about what you can wear just to sort of try to level the playing field. But for the IFC, there are no rules about what you can wear. You can wear whatever you want. You can sort of be yourself, or you can sort of fit whatever would feel most comfortable for you as you go through those rounds.
Another question was, how many PNMs in spring recruitment failed to match on bids? It depends. It depends, because that's why we tell all of the potential new members to not just to select one chapter. We ask them to go ahead and select 3 chapters. So it just depends. Typically, everyone does get a bid to a sorority. Okay, does sororities and fraternities consider legacies in their recruitment processes, and what kind of letter is required?
Renee, do you want to talk about the NPHC and then I can talk about the IFC?
Yeah, that works. So for the NPHC, again, I feel like I'm saying this so many times and I'm so sorry, but it depends on the chapter. I can say for my chapter specifically, we do accept legacy candidates, and we allow people to disclose if they are legacy or if not a legacy, but it doesn't necessarily influence your application one way or another, just like an added thing. For what kind of letter is required, it depends on the chapter. I'm so sorry if I can't give better information, but I am going to put the Instagrams of all of the active chapters in the MPHC in the chat, as well as the MPHC Instagram, so you can be up to date with information and events and stuff like that as well, because I feel really bad that I keep saying that I don't have good enough answers for you guys.
Yeah, and for the IFC, again, it's going to be sort of chapter to chapter, but the vast sort of overwhelming majority of chapters aren't going to weigh or not going to hold legacy or lack of legacy status against you in any way.
Some ISC groups, they do have information about legacies, and so they may be required to move you forward to the next round if you are a legacy for ISC. So if you want to include your letter in your registration, please feel free to do that. So that's something to note. They want to know, does either one of you all, I guess, does anyone live in the sorority or fraternity house? Do either one of you live in the sorority house or fraternity house?
I'm in my fraternity house right now. I lived here for my 3rd year. So basically all of the IFC chapters have people, or they all have people living in the house. The policy about whether or not you're required to depends on the chapter. The majority of IFC members will at least be given the opportunity to live in the fraternity house, but it's by no means a requirement for membership. But I will say personally, living in the fraternity house has been an incredibly positive experience for me. Sometimes it feels like I'm living in summer camp for a whole year, just because it's like my best friends, like the people who I've chosen to spend time around. And I think that would probably be a sentiment echoed by basically anyone who's ever lived with their sorority or fraternity members.
And the MPHC doesn't have official housing, so no.
Okay, so those are all the questions that we officially have like in the question box. Are there any others that anyone has any burning questions that we need to answer?
I see one from Tina about the rush process being different for transfer students. For the IFC, it is not different at all. You go through the exact same process that everyone else does.
It asked, Joe, can you tell us what house you're in? So I don't know if you want to share that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a proud member of Phi Delta Theta here at the University of Virginia.
Okay, Dean Enoch, I think that's all the questions that we have.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for joining. We are so glad that you're here. Know that this isn't your final opportunity to ask questions of our esteemed panel. I'm guessing that Joe and Renee can put their contact information in the chat if you feel comfortable, if people want to reach out to you for questions. Thank you for putting all of those Instagrams in there as well. Renee, thank you to everybody. And please be sure to visit the FSL's website for comprehensive information, as well as Dean Mack has mentioned. Thank you for joining us. If there are no questions, I guess this is it. We look forward to seeing all of y'all in the fall.